We like to call it the Supernatural Hour. And now, our hosts.
Hey, welcome to the Supernatural Hour. I am your host, Raven.
This is Rogue.
This is Emmett.
This is Doc.
And this is Chad.
And we have Rogue and Emmett are zooming in. They had some technical difficulties with their headphones, so they sound a little far away, but we love them. We're glad they're here. So tonight, our main topic is brought to you by Oteo's. Fabulous. If you haven't been there, go. It's one of my favorite places. I'm actually kind of in the mood. We should probably go there sooner than later because I only get the same one thing. Everything looks amazing. I've tasted some of the other stuff. I only get the one thing. Starts with an M. That's all I know. It's delicious.
You open the menu and you go, that's the one, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And if you're listening to or watching this on YouTube, we'll have a really nice shot of kind of this steaky looking thing that they have as part of the menu up there. And it's fantastic.
It starts with an M. It's not Malay, but it's something else. Anyway. So tonight we're going to talk about mirrors. And mirrors and the paranormal just kind of go hand in hand. Doc, you're shaking your head.
Oh, yeah. Well, you think about how many associations there are with mirrors, and people look at them as like they're a portal. Some people talk about how souls can be trapped in them. I'm sure we'll go into a whole lot of this.
Oh.
But, people use them to evoke demons. There's some interesting things you can do with mirrors.
The night is young. I'm going to start off with just some history stuff that I dug up while I was looking around and doing some research. So the Romans, back in the height of the Roman Empire, they believed that mirrors could trap souls, and if you owned a mirror that had a trapped soul in it, it would bring you bad luck. So kind of brings on that if you break your mirror, that's why you have bad luck,
the soul
extra
comes
bad
out.
luck because it comes out. But the Romans also believed that just owning the mirror, even if it was all in one piece, was bad. And if the mirror wasn't properly cared for, then it would allow bad things to happen. So, you're almost worshiping your mirror. So really big in the 1800s, 1700s, think Abraham Lincoln. If a loved one dies in their home, they believed that you needed to cover up the mirrors. And if you didn't, their soul could wander around and then get trapped inside a mirror, and they would be stuck there forever. And there's, just gobs of different variations of this. And if you think about it, there's a lot of cartoons that have this same little theme to it. And I'm trying to think, there's a Barbie cartoon, a Barbie movie, that there's a mirror, and there's a spirit inside the mirror, and they can't break the mirror. And I don't know, it's just, you see this theme often. Think of Snow White, mirror, mirror on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing. And even when Abraham Lincoln died, they covered up the mirrors in the home. It was very
common in the 18th century.
Mm-hmm. Victorians were always covering their mirrors.
It's interesting that you mentioned Snow White and the whole, magic mirror on the wall, whatever. It's basically an invocation, right? You're invoking or evoking a force to present itself in the mirror.
Right.
Which goes back to all sorts of like occult practices, but thanks, Snow White.
Right, and that's the whole Bloody Mary thing where you look in the mirror.
Teaching them young, teaching the kids
That's
young.
right.
So even in the Chinese culture, they believed that if you carried a corpse past a mirror, that they would become a ghost. And you're thinking, okay, not a big deal. They're going to be a ghost anyway, right? But kind of to add to the Chinese thought process their culture, is if you carried the corpse past a mirror and they became a ghost, they weren't happy about that, and then they just haunted you forever, because they didn't believe that they believed that if you were a ghost, you wouldn't have peace. And if you were the person that kept them from getting peace, they weren't going to let you have peace either.
You're going to be haunted. Interesting. It's like
if they're unhappy, you're going to be unhappy too.
So like I don't know, it seems like Western thought is like, yeah, afterlife. Okay, cool. But it sounds like they don't want to be a ghost.
No, and I thought it was funny how they put it. It says, haunting you forever.
The ominous forever.
Forever. So if you go now to like the German and Dutch cultures, they had even kind of a more creepy, eerie belief. They believed that if you saw your reflection in a mirror after a loved one passed, that was an omen that you would be the next one to pass. And I didn't say, but it's like, for how long? Just that day?
That's what I was wondering. Like,
For like
forever?
a
Or
week? Like, can you never look in the mirror ever
that
again?
day?
Yeah, there's got to be a time frame on
Don't
this, right?
drive home or anything, you know. You might accidentally glance in the rear view mirror.
Terms and
wrong.
conditions of this.
And then you get like, drunk Uncle Joe who carries a mirror around and flashes you.
Yeah.
With the mirror, you mean?
Yeah.
No,
He
you go both
flashes you
ways.
with a mirror, not what's under his trench coat.
He's drunk. It could be both.
Simultaneously. Ha-ha!
So, he flashes you and you have only one place to look and then he puts
Right
mirror.
into the
See,
mirror.
it goes together.
That sounds
Oh.
predatory.
We have just degraded and we've only been going for a few minutes. So, we talked just a second ago about, breaking the mirror and you get 7 years of bad luck. I mean, I remember, being little and, breaking a mirror once and just knew that I was doomed until I was 14 years old, So kind of another area where this came about was in ancient Roman culture. They believed that it took 7 years for a soul to regenerate. And they felt like mirrors not only reflected your physical appearance, but also your soul. And so that's why you had to wait for 7 years, because your soul was regenerating, which I thought was interesting. Because I'd always heard the mirror superstition, but I never
Like, why the
really
7
knew
years
why.
thing?
It's like, why 7? So, from the Romans.
Regenerating souls in 7 years.
7 symbolizes completion and fulfillment, so it makes some sense.
And then I found several instances where it said there was a lot of cultures that said, it's not only, your physical appearance, it's not only your soul that's looking back at you, but they felt it was like the dark side of your nature, your shadow self. Like your real self is on the one side of the mirror, but it's your shadow self that was looking back at you.
That kind of ties into, we talked a little bit about evoking demons. And the idea, it's hard when I say demon, I'm not necessarily referring to demons in the sense that sometimes we talk about them on this channel. That's not me, by the way. That's Chad going to town on his soda. But with when you invoke something, that's usually when you call something down, like it's, you invoke angels from heaven, kind of an idea.
Okay.
When you evoke something, you bring something out from inside of you. And the process of evoking demons is usually used with the mirror, because the demon really in some ways symbolizes the darker aspects of you. Not necessarily evil, but that
Darkness.
other side of you. Yeah.
Yeah, you've talked a little bit about dark and light, and that doesn't necessarily mean good and evil.
Right. I mean, if you go looking through some of, there's a legend that Solomon built the temple using demons, right? That he controlled them with the seal of Solomon. And you go, well, that sounds kind of weird that Solomon would use demons to build God's temple, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense in the traditional sense that we think of demons and angels. And what it really hails back to is that people are using their inherent skills, capabilities, and capacities to create something. And there's a magical component there.
Evoking that from
It's
them.
been evoked from within, right?
So that's interesting, because you've heard our story about mirrors, and Chad bought me a mirror, and it took us well, we can get into
Hopefully
that
a
later.
haunted one.
No, it was a brand new one.
Oh, it's from like IKEA or something?
No,
Something.
it was an expensive one.
So, I have a mirror thing. I don't like mirrors. I have a hard time buying them because you never know, what might be attached to it.
I
But
buy
then,
her a nice mirror jewelry case thing and set it up in the bedroom for her, and it's like, nope, can't go there.
it took us about a half an hour.
I also bought her a series of creepy clown dolls.
Took us about a half an hour. We finally got it in an appropriate place. But where I was going with this was, there have been a couple periods in my life where, I go into the bathroom at night when it's dark, and I would not look in the mirror. And I don't know why, but just the feeling of don't look in the mirror. And, when you said it reflected, kind of the dark
The dark, your dark
within us.
nature.
Well, and I guess I kind of said it too. But, the periods where I had that feeling was when I was not in a good place. I went through 2 divorces, and it was kind of in that time period, where things weren't going well. And, so, I don't know, maybe I would have seen Dark Raven.
Ooh.
That sounds like a superhero.
Yeah,
like
Dark Raven.
Like a
Dun,
anti-superhero.
dun, dun.
A villain.
Yeah, an anti-hero maybe.
Okay, yeah, I like anti-hero.
You could be an anti-hero.
So see, if I ever now say Dark Raven is here today, I'm in like a pissy mood.
Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm just angry.
I like that. Dark Raven. Ooh, okay. I have to think on that one for a bit. Portals and mirrors. Okay, so as far as mirror portals, that sounds like mirror portals, like mere mortals. Mirror.
They're just mere portals.
Or is it that you've got 2 portals that are mirrored?
Oh my gosh, sometimes I think we're about 4 years old. Okay.
But they're not actually mirrors.
No, they're just mirrored portals.
They're just portals.
So portals that are found in mirrors. There we go.
Hey, we found some of those.
Yes, so in investigations, we actually find those a lot. There's one this is an investigation we went on several years ago. It's actually at my cousin's home, and her daughter had a mirror in her bedroom. And it wasn't a huge mirror. I mean, it was probably
3 by 3, 3 by 2.
Yeah, it was not huge. And, for anybody that
Feet,
was...
not inches.
Yeah, it was, just kind of a standard mirror. And if you guys remember, I think it was Beaker and Lurch that carried it out. Or Mark and Lurch. Anyway...
Couple of big guys.
Couple of big guys. We decided that it had a portal in it. We decided it couldn't be cleansed. We needed to just get rid of it. And it took 2 of our big guys to carry it to there was a church dumpster nearby, and they put it in the church dumpster. And they said that the closer they got to the dumpster, the heavier it got. And they said it just took all that they had to get this mirror into the dumpster. It was so heavy, but it was not a big mirror.
It wasn't that big.
No, and it wasn't like it was made of a really heavy wood. It was just a plastic. It was a nice mirror.
You think it would have gone easier into like a gas station dumpster than a church dumpster?
Yeah, I don't know, but
It's like repelling. No.
But I can't help but ask, is it...
That would have been interesting to see if they'd put it in a different kind of a dumpster, but they just said the closer they got, and it took both of them to get it in the dumpster.
Yeah, and they weren't picking out a church dumpster for any reason. It just happened to be the dumpster that was
close.
just right.
That's
across the street kind of
if
thing.
you ask me.
Yeah. So, it was just a regular mirror. They probably got it at Walmart or Target, or, it wasn't anything, an old, heavy antique. But anyway.
Probably a Chinese curse or something then, if it was from Walmart.
Yeah, so, and we've run into several mirrors. Most mirrors that we have run into that have had portals have been pretty easy to close with just some salt and sage. And, but it's actually really common, and that's one of the things that we're in a home, we will go look at the mirrors and, see if there's a problem with the mirrors, because it's a really
relatively common
thing. And, I've always wondered, why is it common? And as I was researching for this podcast, there actually, if you go in and type in, mirrors and mirror energy, you get a lot of feng shui stuff. And a lot of, and I had to actually go back and put in mirror, paranormal, ghost. I had to put in very specific words because I kept getting decorator sites. But it's interesting, even these decorators, that has nothing to do with the paranormal, a ton of websites that were saying, don't face mirrors together. Don't put a mirror over your bed, and their reasoning for it
was aesthetics.
Well, not even aesthetic. Some of it was, don't put a mirror in a messy room because it just makes your room look even twice as messy. But some of it was, not even some, more than I imagined from just decorators said that mirrors just create an energy. And they said, don't put a mirror in a bedroom. And I thought, well, yeah, because the ghosts will get you, basically. But theirs was, don't put a mirror in a bedroom because it creates an energy that makes it so you can't sleep well. I was like, it's the ghosts.
Based on feng shui.
But they, a lot of decorators are very into the feng shui and just the energy. Now, Rogue, you were talking to us earlier about mirrors facing each other. What was that?
Right. So a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to tour the Mormon temple that was being built in Rome. Very cool. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I believe, actually, we were some of the last people to get to tour it before it was closing. It was one of the last days. But anyways, so going through this tour, there's a room there. I believe you call it the sealing room, part of when you get married. What an incredible room, but it's the room of mirrors, where mirrors are looking at each other, and we're kind of looking at infinity, because it just keeps going forever and ever. So that brings curiosity to me with all of these things that we're discussing, mirrors facing each other and all of that. But however, that's such a positive when it comes to, right, you're getting married, you're being sealed, we're forever, and that's such a positive. But this is kind of a different spin on mirrors. So
I actually have, I actually have thought about this since getting into the paranormal. And you're right, those mirrors, when you face each other, it symbolizes eternity. And, the idea is if you look in one, you see forever, and
both ways.
Because the image just perpetually replicates back and forth
both
as you look
ways.
through the mirror.
However, my personal opinion, and this nowhere in the church it says this, to my knowledge, this is opinion Dark Raven. No, just normal Raven. I'm not Dark Raven today. My opinion is, I do believe that if you face mirrors together, you increase the energy, and it
Is an amplification.
I was looking for that word. It's an amplification. However, I believe that the temple is a controlled place, and so I don't believe that anything negative could come in there. I believe that they are going to be guarded very stringently, very strictly, There's words that
Well, if the mechanisms of a mirror in the paranormal and these other planes of existence can be manipulated by dark forces, they can certainly be manipulated by forces of light as well.
Exactly. Right? They're tools.
Yeah.
And they can be like any tools. Dynamite can be used for good or ill. All sorts of tools can be used for good and ill.
Right. And even portals we've run into good portals, and we've run into negative portals. And so I don't think there's an issue with the eternity mirrors in the ceiling room, because I think that they are heavily guarded.
Right.
Do you remember that residential, I think, last year in near downtown Salt Lake, where the people, there were actually a lot of souls passed through a portal in a mirror, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was in that really pretty apartment.
Yeah, that one in downtown Salt Lake we talked about a little earlier.
In a mirror.
Yeah, and it wasn't
across the street from the church.
Yeah, and it wasn't a good mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sealed that one up, because that one had bad juju.
I just think,
Really?
a lot of it comes down to intention, right? It's what you're doing it's what you do anytime that really makes a difference. I mean, you're using the mirror, it's symbolic primarily. You're trying to access another realm. You're trying to access things that are normally inaccessible in our world. And I think your intention goes a long way with how that's used.
I agree.
When you sit in a mirror and say Bloody Mary a bunch of times, intention's a little different.
Yes.
than if you're sitting in front of a mirror trying to get ready for the day. So
right.
It's a tool.
Or with your, spouse getting married and inviting your whole family to be there with you.
But to your point that it's not necessarily that mirrors are inherently bad, or that everything about mirrors is bad. I mean, you mentioned that you looked into scrying a little bit.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because scrying is really describes more of a procedure of seeing or trying to divine by looking into a reflection. and it was, of course, originally done on the surface of smooth pools of water, but in industrial times with mirrors. So there it's not actually the mirror, but it's just the physical process of reflection that was supposedly allowing people to see the future and divine people's fates and things like that. So it's not a crystalline property of the glass or anything. It's just that physical property of seeing that
The reflection.
that mirror world.
Right, and crystal balls are the same. It's the same
Yeah,
concept.
exactly.
Everybody understands.
Yeah.
Oh, let me tell you your fortune by looking into the crystal ball. A mirror is a very similar instrument that's used in the same way.
So I have a confession to make.
Uh-oh.
Emmett, did I interrupt you? Were you done?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I've never played with Ouija boards. I've never done some of these creepy things, but I have one time stared at myself in a mirror for a really long time just to see what would happen.
And what happened?
I don't know. I don't know if it was just eyes playing tricks on me, my brain playing tricks on me, my imagination running away, but I turned all dark and fuzzy. I tend to believe it was just, when you stare at a fixed spot for a long time, weird things happen. That would be my guess. But, it wasn't scary, but it was just like, I don't like that.
Looking into a mirror at my house once, my face turned for a moment into that of my father. And it was just as real as if he was standing there. And it was only 2 or 3 seconds, and I blinked, and then it was my face again. But that was really weird. That's the only time I've actually seen anything like that in a reflection.
So there's also something called a dark mirror. Have you heard of the dark mirror?
I
In a
have.
paranormal sense, or not dark glass, or
I believe it's dark glass, and it says hundreds of people have been affected by the mirror.
maybe volcanic glass.
It says the dark mirror has been giving people weird feels. Some people, when they look in it, they get kind of a vision. And there's an example where a woman looked into the mirror and saw her own corpse staring back at her. It says, it is said that it's not technically haunted by a person per se, but more of an entity that feeds off of fear and negativity. So think Dementor. There's your Harry Potter reference for the episode. But just an entity that feeds off of fear and feeds off of negativity. And so if you're looking at a mirror and you're doing so in some nefarious paranormal way or conjuring way, or something that this entity is going to read as negativity or fear, and it will use that to frighten you. And just doing the research, the mirror does look like it has more of a black surface, more of a instead of a shiny surface, it's more dull, darker.
Like polished obsidian, maybe, or
I think there's more than one. I don't think there's just the one, but there's not very many.
interesting.
And and then I wonder, in the dark mirror, is it one of those old mirrors that
Is tarnished underneath.
the ones where they just had to polish a rock until it shone?
Well, and with some mirrors, they were silver. And they'll oxidize, and when they oxidize, they go dark.
Right.
I've got a silver pitcher downstairs that was my mother's, and you go down and look at it right now, and it's almost black.
Yeah.
Right. I'm pretty sure even now most mirrors, they're made of glass, and then they basically coat just one side with a very thin coating of silver, and that's what gives it the reflective
Yeah,
property.
they're using
They still do
aluminum
that
and some other
today.
things
Yeah.
now.
Aluminum's pretty darn
Yeah.
close to silver too.
Yeah. So are these dark mirrors, were they made dark intentionally, or did they get dark
Turn
over
dark
time?
over time.
Are they just old ones that have turned dark? I don't
Well,
know.
one of the YouTube videos that I was watching about mirrors, they talked about a home it was back east. I think it is near Gettysburg, and that mirror, you can see where there's it almost looks like claw marks in from the underneath where they've tried to do that. And again, it could just be the weathering and the aging of the mirror, because it's from back in the 1850s, 1860s. But it's very interesting, and there's been other, people have seen different things in it, but just the way that it's you can say tarnishing or there's something there, but it almost looks like some claw marks. It was very interesting.
You guys when you went to Boston, you went to the Parker House, right?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Did you go and see Charles Dickens' mirror when you were there?
I think we did.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that, this mirror is there, and that people can go up and see it, but it's also reportedly haunting. It's haunted as well.
So I'm looking at the picture that you've got on your phone.
You saw
and
that
we
mirror.
did, and I went and I took like 800 pictures hoping to capture something in the mirror, and we did not.
So this says, the story goes that if you look long and deep enough into the mirror, you can see Charles Dickens himself. Far from it being a Candyman or Bloody Mary legend, he's supposed to just be practicing his rendition of A Christmas Carol. So,
And it's like in the end of a hallway or the end, isn't it?
yeah,
From what
I
you can
believe
see.
so. And there's like a little plaque that basically says, hey.
Charles Dickens' mirror.
Yeah, and then I did, it says to look into it, and I can't do that. I mean, I can look at myself in my bathroom mirror to get ready, or a bathroom mirror to get ready, but just to stare into a mirror expecting to see something not me coming, I don't
Not
do
even
that.
for A Christmas Carol?
No.
Especially a mirror that you don't know where it's been and who all's been
Well, and
messing
just
around with it.
All the people that have stared into that mirror.
I bet there have been some people that have said some interesting things in front of that mirror, too.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, no. I have mirror rules, which we will get
And
to.
she doesn't mean like kind of rules or, I have some mirror rules.
She's talking about mirror rules.
I do.
I don't think I want to ever walk into a restroom in a truck stop anymore now.
They've probably said some pretty interesting
This is
things in
terrible.
mirrors, too.
Oh, yeah. Now, one of the other things when you go to, research mirrors online, I think after feng shui, the next thing you get is haunted mirrors. Now, Rogue, I know that you ran across a lot of haunted mirrors. What did you find?
Well, that's kind of funny because when you first came up with the topic, that was the first thing I thought of is haunted mirrors, eBay. And I had to go check it out. And when you put in haunted items, there's about 99 haunted dolls, which, we've talked about in previous podcasts. But I did run across one haunted mirror. And to say if it was really haunted, they go into the description, and it was a possibly haunted, and it was kind of wooden and kind of etched, and you can tell it was older. But there's one that still could be out on eBay. It was $29. I don't suggest anybody go to eBay and search for haunted items, because I'll have to say there was a few temptations on there. It wasn't the mirror, but that's what I found is one mirror, a few temptations, and...
See, that's why I cannot look for haunted items on eBay, because I would buy something.
It's a very,
like
very
I said,
niche market.
it's definitely a temptation.
Well, and you know that 99% of it probably isn't haunted. They just say that so you'll buy it.
Right.
But I would buy the 1% that was.
You'll
Then my
get
house
the
will be
one.
haunted. My kids will be saying, "How come the kitchen table's levitating?" Dang that ring!
So I watched a very interesting YouTube about a haunted mirror. And this is, I think it was in the 90s, maybe, probably closer to the 2000s, of a couple that had acquired a mirror that the landlord was throwing out. And they said, hey, can we have that? And they said, yeah, I'm just getting rid of it. You can have it. And it was an older mirror, and it had a wood frame and the whole thing. And they put it in their apartment, and then strange things started happening. They started not getting along. They started to, noises were happening, all sorts of things. They ended up painting the wood on it kind of a silver color. There's pictures of it in the video. It was really quite interesting. And but they got to the point that they determined they were going to get rid of it, and they went back to the to the landlord and said, "Well, we've painted it. Do you want it back?" And he said, "No, I don't want anything to do with it. That's why I was throwing it
You want
out."
this mirror? Oh, you mean the haunted demon mirror? No, you can have that. That's fine.
So they actually did put it up on eBay, and this was in England, and so it was in pounds. But it's like they didn't say, what the final disposition was. But I was interested in, did it go for more money because it was haunted than it would have of just a standard mirror of that size?
Let this be a lesson in the importance of asking questions. Hey, why are we throwing that out? Could have been the first thing.
So, a couple of there's a few stories that I've got of just some actual haunted mirrors, and that one started to sound like mine, very similar, but it's different. This
was eBay.
Well, this isn't eBay.
Oh.
So this is a story of a lady. She was a younger woman. She loved mirrors. It was just, she's like the opposite of me. She loved mirrors, was always looking for new ones. And she would pick them up at yard sales, at estate sales, which, again, that's like the last place I want to go get a mirror. But she found this really beautiful mirror. It was, floor to ceiling. And she felt drawn to it. Later she says, I think something in the mirror was trying to get my attention. But, that was, 2020. After she got rid of it, but she just felt really drawn to the mirror, so she got it. And she gets it home, and she again just feels really drawn to the mirror, so she actually talked to it, and she said, "Show yourself to me and talk." And as soon as I read that, I'm like, no. Don't.
Hey, come play with me.
Don't do that. Anyway, she said that things went bad after that. Her family started arguing. They started getting sick. And not only were the people in the house getting sick, but like their pets were getting sick. And so they actually had a psychometrist go in.
And what's a psychometrist?
You can
Okay.
touch things, and you can feel the energy just by touching it. Anyway, so the psychometrist went in, and they were able to determine that the person who had owned it previously, or at least a previous owner of the mirror, was very negative and very vain. So not necessarily evil, but didn't really have the good juju. And when she passed, just the energy went into the mirror.
It was imbued into the mirror.
Mm-hmm. And anyway, when she talked to the mirror, it released that energy into her home, is what they determined happened. And so she had another woman come in, and it's this woman that's telling the story because she refers to it as her client. So this woman went in and cleansed the home and was able to, they disposed of the mirror properly. And once they got rid of the mirror and cleansed the home, nobody got sick anymore. So there was definitely some juju. There was another family that had a mirror that had a demonic portal in it. And people that would stay in the bedroom where this mirror was would see, it was another full-length mirror, and they would see a figure that lurked in this mirror, and they described it as dark. Just overall, the whole thing was dark, and then it had dark clothing, and it had a Quaker-style hat, like the Oatmeal Man hat. Mm-hmm. And then it would actually walk out of the mirror. They had several witnesses that would see this, literally come back and forth, between mirror world and real world. And long black cloak. They said he had glowing red eyes, and he would float along the floor about, 3 inches above the ground or so. But you couldn't see his feet, so no feet, and which is bad. If you see a spirit and there's a body part missing or wrong, it's a bad sign. But they said he was very three-dimensional, not just flat, like they could see, like an
Moving
actual person. And these people would be awake. I mean, it's not like they were dreaming it. They would be fully awake. And this one particular gentleman who saw it asked him if he'd like to join them. And again, if it's something you don't know exactly who it is. What is that noise?
I was looking something up, and it got all noisy. I thought I had muted it.
Jeez.
That wasn't paranormal. That was my phone.
It sounded like a little wind-up car buzzing around on the ground.
Turn off.
Hang on, we've got...
Technical difficulties.
We're having technical difficulties.
Turn down the volume.
I tried. Okay.
timing. I was worried someone was going to pop out.
I did
With
too.
a
I was
mirror.
like, wow.
Well, that was a mirror video. I was looking for some information from what I had, and it's like,
Well, that's funny. Anyway, so this man asked this Quaker spirit to join them, and because he was thinking, oh, this will be my spirit guide, but it's not. The being, said, I'm going to give you all the material things you could ever wish for. You can have fame. You can be a movie star, riches, beautiful women.
Sounds like a spirit guide.
Mm-hmm.
or the creepy old preacher from Poltergeist 2.
Oh, shit. I should have gone. That's what I want. I want a red-eyed Quaker as my spirit guide.
Yeah, but he wouldn't say what the other half of the deal was, and so the guy kind of chickened out, and
Can you believe that?
didn't do anything. But they decided that the portal, was an unseen vortex that connected the two places, and it actually never said what happened to it. That's
The Quaker is just like one word: Bitcoin.
yeah. So I don't
I know.
what happened to the rest of that story. The rest of the story wasn't there, but I thought that was interesting that it would, come out and promise you all sorts
That
of
just
things.
doesn't sound enticing to me.
See, it's just that whole thing is,
Creepy, dark, floaty man who gives you the heebie-jeebies. You're like, yeah, spirit guide. Sounds good.
and I'll give you all this stuff. If it's too good to be true, something's wrong.
Right.
You like the people that call and tell you 0% interest on all your credit cards for life. It's like, I think there's something wrong there.
This is a spam call. Don't answer it.
Oh, I answer it and I play with them.
Your good friend, Scam Likely.
That's right. Oh, scam's calling again.
Okay, you ready for my mirror rules?
I feel like we've been having a lot of rules for a lot
Is there
of things.
14 of them?
Yeah, exactly. Didn't we just have a whole bunch of rules?
That was for Ouija boards.
Ah, yes. That's
That
right.
was Chad's rules. Those weren't my
Oh, those
rules.
weren't even yours. Oh, sorry. My mistake.
He made us read them. We had to go around and take turns.
around,
Well, he
yes.
didn't make us. He chose to.
I just wanted to get everybody
I
involved.
know.
We chose of our own free will and volition.
No, these are my own personal mirror rules.
The Raven Mirror Rules.
Yes, not Dark Raven, just regular Raven. So, and I don't even have them numbered. One rule is you shouldn't be able to see yourself in the mirror when you're sleeping.
Well, my eyes are closed, so I don't see myself when I'm sleeping.
Yeah, I'm having trouble with rule number
That
one.
was a dad joke right
It
there.
doesn't seem necessary.
If you see yourself when you're sleeping, you're not
If you're
sleeping.
sleeping, yeah, you're not going to see anything. What's rule 2?
Honestly.
Maybe we can go back and say when you're trying to sleep, you shouldn't be able to see yourself.
You should not be able to see yourself in a mirror from your bed because when you fall asleep, bad things can happen.
There you go.
That's a better statement of the rule.
I have actually.
That makes sense.
You guys are so literal. Okay. So I have actually been in hotel rooms where I have put towels over mirrors or taken the mirror off the wall.
I can vouch for that.
It's like, nope, that is not happening. We had one investigation where we went into the room where there was some issues in a residential investigation. And the first thing I noticed was the floor-to-ceiling mirrored closet doors facing the bed. I mean, took up the entire wall. And I thought, well, hell yeah, that's not good. So, we told... Rogue, were you with us on that one?
I was.
Yeah, so we told them, this is a problem. You shouldn't be able to see yourself in a mirror from your bed, which is rule number 1. And I said, but these are beautiful mirrors, and I'm sure it would be very expensive to replace them, and so I didn't want them just taking them down. So what they determined they were going to do was get curtain rods and just put,
That way they could
curtains
cover
over
them
it,
up
so
when
they
they
could
needed
cover
to.
it when they were, in bed, and they could open them up when they
Weren't.
So there are things you can do. We've actually had homeowners, and we tell homeowners, this is your home. We're not trying to come in and redecorate for you. We're not decorators or ghost hunters, but we will say things like you might want to think about moving that mirror or, putting something over it when you sleep.
Or maybe try some wood panel flooring instead of linoleum. No, I was kidding. Just going into a whole remodel. That's gray is atrocious.
It's like Will Smith in Men in Black. And hire a decorator because, damn.
Exactly.
So the second rule would be do not put mirrors facing each other. I mean, if you're in the temple, do it because God's on your side. But just in your own home, best not to do it.
So you wouldn't recommend, like when you have the trifold mirrors, that you sit in the middle of them and close them so that they're...
Oh, that gives me an absolute nightmare. That brings nightmares to my
I did
head.
that all the time as a kid.
Oh.
Doc knows the exact mirrors I'm talking about.
I sure do. Just pull them out from the sides of the medicine cabinet, you mean?
Yeah? Did you ever do that?
Yeah, lots of times.
It was cool.
See, I will do that to see the back of my hair, but I glance in it as little as possible and hurry and put the mirror away.
Yeah, I used to just do it for funsies.
I know, I did too.
See, and in our bathroom we've got those mirrors that can face each other. And when I go in there and my kids have opened them and left them, oh.
She has to make sure they're askew. So she likes them shut, which makes sense since they're like for the medicine cabinet. But if I really want to wig her out, I can make them parallel, with the one there and then the other two. And she's not happy about that.
No. Don't buy mirrors from antique stores
But it's so tempting.
because they're going to be haunted.
But they're beautiful.
What if it's really cool?
No.
Or eBay.
Or eBay.
Yeah, I prefer Etsy for my haunted objects. Just throwing that out there.
And I think those are really my only mirror rules. Don't stare into them longingly and say Bloody Mary a bunch of times. Or stuff like that.
Or Blue Baby. There's the Blue Baby myth. That one was interesting.
I've never heard of the Blue Baby myth.
It's pretty much the Bloody Mary myth, but you
get a blue baby?
you say Blue Baby, there's a thing
Don't
to
say
it.
it.
Like, if you can say
Well, you got to
blue
be
baby.
standing in front of the mirror, and then the mother comes and tries to get the blue baby from you.
Oh.
It's supposed to be really creepy. So
Oh, I missed
Sounds
out in
really
childhood.
creepy,
This is all news to me.
I just learned about this on YouTube just recently.
It must be an East Coast thing.
Yeah, it was, and they did talk about the Bloody Mary. There's one that I was just looking at and made all the noise on here a minute ago. It was really good. It had like 10 mirror things.
Okay, I need to know, listeners, if you live on the East Coast of the U.S. or if you've heard of the Blue Baby, I need to know where you're from, roughly where you're from. I mean, I don't need like your address and your exact
It
coordinates.
sounds like a gummy candy or something like that.
It just makes me think of work, basically. Just makes me think
Because
of
you
work.
see blue babies.
I do see
And
blue
your shape of
babies.
teeth.
Oh,
We had a blue baby. I had a baby with a heart condition that had oxygen
he
saturation
okay?
like 78%.
Your
My
daughter.
My
Yeah.
daughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She's
no,
okay.
she had to have heart surgery, but she's what they call a blue baby. She's not blue anymore.
No, she's not. I can attest to that. Yeah, I think those are my major rules. We did finally find a home for my mirror, by the way. It's at the foot of the bed, but it has to face a certain way.
Better than a
Your
tree
mirror-
coaster.
Jewelry case
My
mirror.
mirror, yeah. My jewelry case mirror.
It's towards the end of the bed, but it's faced out the other way.
And sometimes it gets pushed the wrong way, and then I have to get up and move it.
What if you had a mirror with like a built-in salt tray running all along the front of it? That'd be pretty safe,
Ooh.
maybe.
We could get a whole niche, a whole market for salted mirrors. You got salted caramel, you could salted mirrors.
Just, put some nice salt all over
Nice
it.
chunky salt.
Should be pretty.
Cool. All right. All right. Well, stay spooky, my haunty friends.
Love you, Nicholas.
Till next time.
Have a good one.
Hey, have a good night.
You've been listening to the Supernatural Hour at AdvancedParanormal.com. The Supernatural Hour is part of the Radio Ronin network found at RadioRonin.com. Copyright by Advanced Paranormal Services.